Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyofacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and I am delighted to welcome back to the Joy of Cruising podcast, Paul and Carole, creators of one of the top cruise brands in the world. Paul and Carole loves to travel. They are dominant on every social media platform they are on, and whether you classify them as cruise influencers or cruise content creators, they are among the world's leaders either. Most importantly to me is that Paul and Carole are passionate cruisers, and just about every time I read about them on social or see them on YouTube, they are cruising to one of my bucket list destinations, like the topic of this podcast. We'll be checking off Dubai from our bucket list in a few weeks, and when I found out Paul and Carole had recently cruised there, I had to get them back on the show. They are no strangers to the Joy of Cruising podcast. You can count on a few fingers the number of guests appearing on the podcast for the third time. Episode 27, Paul and Carole Love to Travel, and episode 99, Paul and Carole Love to Travel, Mekong River Cruise, Emma Waterways, and Madeira, Japan. By the way, you can count on a couple of fingers the passionate cruisers who have been in more than one of my books. And Paul and Carole Love to Travel was featured in both The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted. It's been over a year, so I wanted to catch up with Paul and Carole, and especially to get their thoughts on their cruise to Dubai and the Emirates, which Cheryl and I will be visiting in a couple of weeks. Welcome back, Paul and Carole, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
We're good to be back in it.
Hello, yeah, it's great to be back.
So how you both doing?
We're good. We're getting ready to cruise again, so that's always a happy time, isn't it?
All the chaos behind us, yeah, ready to go.
Where you getting ready to go?
We're doing our first group cruise. We've got a cruise from Southampton on Sky Princess to Norway and Denmark, and we're going with 172 of our followers.
Oh my goodness.
I know. It's a bit mad, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun.
I suspect there's some folks I probably know, right?
Yes, yeah. We got a few of our travel blogging friends coming on board, Ken and Lindsay, and we've got Gary Bembridge is with us, and Johnny and Will.
Yeah.
So yes, it should be plus lots of other lovely people.
Yeah. Tell Gary I said hi. I'm trying to get him back on to talk about Explorer Journeys.
Yes, yeah.
I'm going on that, and we did our little reflections, but no one can do a review like Gary, so I'm going to get him on to kind of correct what we missed.
He is the man. He is the man that can.
Yep. So share some background information for the listeners. Where you're from, where you live, professional background, anything you would like to share.
Well, we're Paul and Carole Love to Travel. I, used to be a nurse. I retired 4 years ago in July. And Paul?
I used to be a fabricator welder. Now I'm a car salesman, which I've been doing for 30 plus years. Winding down now because helping Carole out a lot with Paul and Carole Love to Travel. So sort of almost full-time blogging, really, with the odd car sale thrown in.
Yeah. From Gloucester, England, and we've lived here for many, many years. And that's us, isn't it? We enjoy sharing our travels with them on our social media and on our YouTube and our website.
For those few people who are not aware, who is Paul and Carole Love to Travel?
Well, we're a middle-aged couple from the UK that just love to have a lot of fun while seeing the world. We enjoy cruising as our main, obviously, preferred mode of travel, but we do love land-based holidays too. Yeah, we just love meeting people when we're traveling. I think highlight is obviously the destination, the cruise ships, but the most fun and most rewarding thing I think is the people that we've met along the way. Do you agree, Paulie?
Like-minded people.
Yes, totally like-minded
Yes.
people. Yeah. And just making the most of life and just doing what you can with what you have.
Are we middle-aged?
I think we're middle-aged.
What
or-
age is
Well, I
middle-aged?
think we're probably older than middle-aged.
I'm,
Oh,
I'm not touching that one.
No.
Let's not to.
For the listeners who are unaware, Carol used to work on cruise ships.
I did many, many years ago. 1992 was when I finished. Yeah, I worked on Celebrity Cruises as a nurse. So that was where got my first love for it because I'd never cruised when I got that job, and and it took me many years to talk Paul into going cruising because he 7 years I think it was. He said, "I don't. Why would I want to do that?" And within days we were on our first cruise. He's like, "Why haven't we done this before?"
Tell the listeners, when was your first cruise together?
Our first cruise together was a 5-day cruise on Royal Caribbean
Navigator of the Seas.
from Barcelona.
It was. Was it 1999?
I don't know. I'll take your word for it.
I'm sure.
I'm just impressed. I remembered what
I'm sure
cruise
it
it
was
was.
1999. Navigator of the Seas, and that was our first cruise together. And since then, this cruise we're going on next is our 61st.
So on that first cruise together, now, Carol, for you, you had been used to cruising through your job. Paul, what was your first impression?
It was just mad. I couldn't believe how much was going on. I just thought I was going to be bored and there wouldn't be anything to do. It was all the sort of typical preconceptions that I think a lot of people have about cruising. But it was just the food was amazing, the entertainment was amazing. We met some people on that cruise that we're still friends with now.
Yeah.
So, 25 years or whatever later. So yes, it just blew my mind, really, I suppose it's fair to say.
And here you are, 60 something cruises later, and one of the top cruise brands in the world.
Wow, that's very kind of you to say that.
It's been over a year since you were last on the podcast. So catch us up on your cruising in the last year, other than your very last cruise, which is our main topic of conversation.
Okay. Well, since then, we've done some very different cruises, actually. We started off with a week on Royal Clipper, which is the sailing. What you describe it well, Paul.
It's the biggest rigged sailing ship in the world, I believe. But it can sail on. It has got engines, but it can sail under its own steam. 4 masts, about 150 passengers, but a totally different cruising experience. Getting to little places that cruise ships can't get you to.
Yeah, we did Italy, and we ended up going to places like Ponza and Sorrento and places like that. That Amalfi, which normally you have to, big ships can't get there, and being on a sailing ship was just a very good experience. And after that, we've one of our favorite cruise lines at the moment is Holland America, and we were back on Holland America with Amsterdam, weren't we?
Yeah.
Where we did a cruise again from Rome, but this one was called the Malta, and was it Adrian Jewels?
Yeah.
And it went to overnight in Malta, it went to Messina in Sicily, and ended up in Greece and Turkey. So that was a fabulous itinerary. And it was great being back on Holland America because we really enjoy that type of cruising. It's quite traditional, but still has elements of fun to it.
Since we last spoke, I went on my first Holland America cruise.
Right.
But it wasn't a regular cruise. It was kind of a themed cruise. It was a Soul Train cruise.
Okay.
So I had a great first impression of Holland America.
Yeah.
But I consider my first real Holland America cruise. It's coming up. I'm going to Panama Canal in the fall.
Oh, lovely.
Nice.
Yeah. And after that, we talked about Gary earlier, Gary Bembridge, Tips for Travellers. He was doing a group cruise on Celebrity Eclipse, and it was going to Canada and New England. And we thoroughly enjoyed our trip. But we spoke to you prior to this, haven't we, about our when we went on the Rocky Mountaineer and went to Alaska.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we went on his group cruise, and we thought it'd be a good thing for us to do as well, because we were hosting our own group cruises to see how he managed things. Because Gary is just the master of all, isn't he? And we had an
Hmm.
absolute amazing time. Gary was brilliant, as I was. So were we had so much fun,
We
and we
did.
ended up going as far as Quebec to the north in Canada, and through New England and back to Boston, and that was absolutely brilliant. That was in the fall, wasn't it? In September time.
Is that autumn?
That is autumn. You call it the fall, we call it autumn. So,
I might be in the minority calling it fall. A lot of people do call it autumn here.
yeah, no, we have heard that
Yeah.
term regularly. And then just before Christmas, we went on Queen Victoria, one of the Cunard ships, which is one of our favourites. We love Cunard, and that did a pre-Christmas cruise down to Spain and Portugal, which was really enjoyable. We surprised our friends Bob and Holly Innocents Abroad with Kenyo's crewing and his wife Lindsay, and that was so much
Yeah.
fun, wasn't it?
Now that's not the new one. The Queen Anne is the new one.
Queen Anne
Queen
is the
Anne's
new
new
one.
one,
And
Yes.
you've been on that?
We have. We went on that in the when on its first cruise, and we came off with very mixed opinions of it. It still had a lot of essence of Cunard, but there was lots of issues when we were on board. But it was the first cruise, and
Sure.
we had a lot of those issues have been ironed out now. But to be fair, out of the four queens, it's our least favorite.
Okay. Okay.
And then before we got on Costa, because we were going over to Dubai, we decided that we were going to do a explore more of Asia. So we were back with Holland and America on Nordam, and we cruised from Singapore through to Hong Kong and went via Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam, which was fantastic too.
Costa, how do you say it? Smeralda?
Smeralda. It's like Esmeralda without the E. Smeralda.
Smeralda. Costa Smeralda. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so what is that your first time on Costa?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. When was Smeralda built?
It's a fairly new ship, isn't it? Maybe is it
It's about
2000?
about 5 years old.
I don't think it's that old.
Oh, okay.
After,
Okay.
yeah.
If it's 5 years old, it doesn't matter. I was going to say I've had on the podcast the guy who built many of the Costa ships, and I was wondering, is this one that he built? But this was a little after his time. He left in 2014. So,
Okay.
what motivated you to pursue Costa and this particular itinerary, or was it the itinerary that motivated you to pick Costa?
Well, we were on our way back from Asia. We were going to stop in Dubai anyway because we've got members and patrons, and some of our patrons live in Dubai and invited us over. Oh, 2018,
They started building
they
it.
started building Costa Smeralda, but I don't know what time it's first cruise.
Okay.
So we were visiting Dubai anyway to stay with friends, and we got talking with them, and they said, "Oh, you never guess what we booked? We booked a Costa cruise," and we're like, "Oh my God, that's interesting." So they booked this week's cruise from Dubai on Costa, which coincided just before the dates that we were going to be with them. So we decided to go there early. And we thought we've never tried Costa. It was a very good price. It was a part of the world that we've never explored before. We'd not been to the Middle East before. Well, we nearly got there once on a Morella cruise, but we were diverted so many times. We'd only got so far, didn't we,
Yeah.
through the Red Sea? So we thought this is the ideal opportunity to try a new cruise line in a part of the world that we've never done before. So that's why we booked it.
Okay. Okay. So what was the itinerary?
So we started in Dubai. We had an overnight in Dubai. It was very bizarre, actually, because our friends, we couldn't get on the same day as our friends because if they booked from Dubai, they could get on the day before us, but we couldn't get onto the day after them. So it depends on what country you're from, what dates you could get on. It was quite strange. But anyway, so we got on and we had an overnight in Dubai before we went to Muscat in Oman. And then we went to Abu Dhabi. And then we went to Doha in Qatar. So a good taste of that the the bay there, isn't it?
Ah.
Mm.
So what did you do in Dubai?
In Dubai, as we were staying with friends, they showed us around their local beach, an area which is beautiful, wasn't it? We went and they took us out for a fantastic meal, and I can't think of what was the name of a
Okay.
fantastic restaurant, Thai restaurant that was right at the foot of the Burj Khalifa. So we sat there and had some fantastic food while watching the light shows and everything that
Yeah.
went on in an evening. Yeah, and we just spent time with our friends in their little community, which was
Yeah,
lovely,
it was
wasn't
really
it?
nice.
Just to see how they lived and how, because they're from actually originate in New Zealand, but been living and working in Dubai now for, wow, 15 years or so. So it was really,
Do they like it
they
there?
love it. It's a great, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about the Middle East, and they have a great lifestyle there. There's a very welcoming community there. The local people are lovely, and we found that with. We were quite nervous about going to the Middle East because you hear all these things, don't you, about the rules and regulations, and what you can and cannot do. And yes, there are rules and regulations, so you have to do your homework before you go. However, they are such lovely people that are so welcoming and also so helpful. You know, if they can see you looking confused, they're like, "Can we help you?" It was really
Yeah,
quite
it was. Yeah.
refreshing, wasn't it? It was really nice.
I'll bet it was spotless clean.
Yes. Totally, absolutely, fantastic place. It's so clean. Yeah, we thought we would think, yeah, we've been to Dubai, we'll tick that box. We've already booked to go back. So I think that sums it all in. Not on Costa, but to actually Dubai.
Yeah.
So you're going on a land trip when you go back?
Yeah, well, we've got a big trip booked for next year where we're heading back down under to Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific. So what we're doing, we're breaking up our flight by staying with our friends again in Dubai.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, Paul and Carole. Sounds like it's about time for you guys to hire an administrative assistant.
Maybe.
He's got his hand up.
The listeners can't see. I'm holding my hand
No.
up. So say something about Abu Dhabi, which is we're only going to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So
Yeah.
for our sake, say a little bit about Abu Dhabi.
We met some friends, fellow travel bloggers, because they were on Celestial Journey. And so we met them, didn't we, in Abu Dhabi?
We did the hop on, hop off
Yes,
bus,
I was just
didn't
trying to think, what do we do? We did with Andy and Kirsty, we did the hop on hop off bus, and we hopped off there's a beautiful beaches over there, absolutely stunning beaches. And then we stopped at a mall where they were like a souk, where we had a walk around the souk, and we had a fantastic meal, didn't we, at this restaurant of some of the local foods, and that was just delicious. And again, absolutely spotless place, wasn't it? Absolutely spotless.
Spotless, helpful people.
Yeah.
Nothing was too much trouble.
Exactly. Yeah.
How would you contrast Abu Dhabi with Dubai?
Very similar. Abu Dhabi seemed a little bit more spread out, didn't it? It seemed a lot. It seemed where Dubai seems quite sort of what's the word? Compact. But very similar in lots of ways. Both have got that. You look at the buildings there and the architecture, it's just wow. And they're continually building. In fact, Tom told us an interesting fact about the builders, didn't he?
That when they're building new skyscrapers, they work 24 hours a day. And that's 365 days a year. The only time they will stop building is if the temperature goes over 50 something degrees.
Yeah.
Which is about 130 or something like that. So
holy cow!
But it's around the clock, and that's why everything gets done so quickly.
Yeah, but the architecture over there it's mind blowing, isn't it? Some
crazy.
of the buildings, it's really good to see.
Where do they import the workers from who do all that building?
Do you know? I don't know.
I know there is a lot of local. There is people come in from outside, but there is there is quite a big local workforce. But I wouldn't like to be quoted because I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, it's sort of like everybody there is a millionaire, and that's Obviously not the case.
No,
not at all.
There is obviously an element of that, but there are just regular.
Just average Joes like us.
Okay, okay. Because I know when I went to another on a totally different part of the world, but I went to, I think it was Monaco,
Yeah,
and you know everyone there is a millionaire.
yeah,
And they talked, or a guide on a tour talked about how they bring workers in
yeah,
to do all of the building and serving and the work that the millionaires won't do.
yeah.
So talk about your other shore stops for those of us who are planning. And I have a feeling, I'm going to want to go back to Dubai. I talked to Sherry from Cruise Tips TV. I'm sure
Oh,
you know
yeah,
her.
yeah,
And like you, she did a cruise in that area. Normally when I go on a cruise, part of going on a cruise is sampling destinations for a few hours and saying, well, we ought to come back here for a land trip.
yeah,
Here I'm doing things backwards. I'm
yeah,
going on a land trip,
yeah,
but based on what I'm hearing, from Sherry with her cruise and you talking about your cruise, I might want to go back there,
yeah,
but this time do it on a cruise.
yeah.
So talk about your other stops.
So we went to Muscat in Oman, where we actually went on a Dhow boat trip. So we learned about the Dhow boats, and we just seen the sort of coastline, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which was nice.
I can't remember the name of the hotel, but we went past a hotel and it was one of the most
Yeah,
sought after that you can only get to by boat and all that sort of stuff. But we had this Dhow boat was quite
yeah, very
it was very
unusual.
unusual,
Very
very
unusual.
relaxing. But
Yeah. And what was the treats they gave you? They got this hot coffee, but it had what were the treats? Were they dates?
oh,
Oh,
dates,
dates.
yeah,
Which these dates. So it was lovely.
yeah.
And then we that was quite a few hours. Then we went back to the ship. Then in um Qatar, we went to the local souk, didn't we? With
Oh yeah,
Tom and Helen.
we
We got a taxi, and the taxi driver took us round and gave us a little tour of the area. And then he dropped us off at a souk, which was a proper traditional old souk. And that was really interesting, wasn't it? And again, you weren't harassed by all the sellers or anything, were
what was the
you?
hospital next to the souk? They're mad.
Oh,
They're
Falcon.
they're mad into their birds of prey.
Yeah.
So it's not unusual to see somebody walking down the street with a falcon on their arm.
Oh, wow.
And next to the souk, there's a falcon hospital.
Yeah.
So if you got a falcon and he's not very well, they've got a proper, quite a big hospital where you take your bird of prey just to make sure he's in tip-top condition.
Yeah. So very, very interesting. So that was really good,
It
wasn't
was,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Say something about Costa Smeralda. Not that many. Well, I shouldn't say. I shouldn't overgeneralize. I don't hear very many guests talking about Costa, so I suspect my listeners are not as familiar with Costa as they are with other cruise lines. Say something about Costa, or say something about your ship.
Well, Costa Smeralda is the same ship as Carnival Celebration,
It's an excellence class. So
and
it's the same
it's the same ship as
P&O.
P&O's Iona. But what they've done inside, I think of the three, Costa and Carnival have done a far better job with what they've done than what P&O have done. The ship,
Beautiful.
There's lots of fabulous outside spaces.
And for those that don't know Costa, Costa's predominantly it's an Italian line, obviously, so it does a lot of Europe. It does go elsewhere, so it does attract a lot of international mix of passengers. But going back to the ship, as Paul said, it was absolutely stunning. Some very excellent venues. From a food point of view, we thought the food was good. We wouldn't say it was excellent, but it was good. Staff we'd heard lots of mixed things about Costa and not very positive things, to be quite honest, had we? However, the staff on board were absolutely superb. We couldn't fault them, could we?
No, I think the main thing with Costa is how cheap they are.
Yeah.
And I think you've got MSC, which is also an Italian line, and then you've got Costa. Well, Costa is like the poor man's MSC, but
Oh, wow.
it's but the ships themselves are stunning.
Yeah.
I think the problem they've got, and I know it sounds awful, but because they're so cheap, they attract a clientele that doesn't do them any favors.
Okay.
And that's the problem. What they could do with doing, and I know what I thought I would never say this, is they need to put their prices up because they get people on, and we found this, and it was nothing to do with the clientele from Dubai or Abu Dhabi or any of those places. They had people coming in who
From Europe and
from
Central
Europe
Asia.
and like no people skills, no social etiquette, pushing, just having 5 times as much food as they needed in the buffet, just no queuing, no thank you. That we walked through the buffet once and we weren't even going to the buffet, we were just passing through. And our friend Tom nearly got pushed over 4 times trying to walk the buffet because it was like a bloody stampede in there. Honestly, I've never seen it. And that's the biggest problem they've got is the staff's great, the ship's great, the food is good. It's not spectacular, but it's not bad. There's good entertainment.
Yeah,
But what
fun.
lets them down is the passengers.
Oh.
So the entertainment is in English?
Some of it's in English. Most of it, they had like a resident band, and I would say that probably 75% of the stuff they did was in English.
Yeah, they had some shows, and they would often, if they were doing game shows, they would do it in Italian, and they would do it in English, and then there would be they would have it available in Russian and in Spanish and in lots of other languages around on screens as well with subtitles. So they do cater for a huge eclectic mix, which for us was a little bit like, whoa, this is because we're very used to obviously cruising with American, Australian, British that have certain etiquette, and there were certain things that we just would take for granted that were missing, which we thought, oh, this is a bit odd. Saying that, it was a very fun ship. There was lots of partying going on. There are some fantastic parties. When we were in Doha, we had this huge sail away party, and it was just lasers. It was pretty spectacular.
It was wild.
It was really wild.
One of the best parties I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
It was really, really
So they do things really, really well on lots of levels, but we just found that the passenger mix, it was just a little bit surprising for us, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, to put it into perspective, obviously, because we were already there, we only had to pay for the cruise. And we paid, I would have, rough calculation, about $2,000 for a 7-day cruise. And that was for both of us. And that was with the drinks package.
Oh, wow.
And a deluxe balcony, so we were in a high standard. So it was a very a cheap cruise. We're glad we've tried Costa. Would we rush back to Costa if the price was right and it was going to the itinerary was right? Then I probably wouldn't do a Costa cruise out of the Middle East, but I would consider one in Europe.
Yeah, I think we need to try one in Europe just to compare it to see.
Yeah.
We know what to expect from the ship now, so it's just what to expect from passengers closer to home, I suppose, just to see.
But we do want to clarify that the people from Dubai and the Middle East that we met, it wasn't the area that we visited. It was the people that flew in that were,
Before we move away from the Middle East, talk about the cultural and social experience or cultural and social aspects of a holiday in the United Arab Emirates. Give Cheryl and me some tips and tricks.
Yeah, I think you hear these things, or you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't have a drink, you can't be careful about holding hands. There are areas you need to do your research of where you're actually staying and what you're doing. But we found that most places it's a very welcoming place to everyone.
Yeah.
And as long as you, for instance, I like a glass of wine and Paul likes a beer, and that was not an issue at
No,
all.
not at all.
It depends on what time of year you go there, obviously, because they have, Ramadan and things like that, and different holidays. So that'd be a first tip I would say is what dates are you going and are there going to be restrictions while you're there? Um, so I would pick a time outside those holidays, but they've got some fantastic clubs in Dubai where you can go and party all day long. It's a real fun place with lots of fun things to do. And like we said, the local people that we met and got talking to were just lovely.
Yeah, no, totally.
Did you tour any sacred places?
We didn't.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Okay. Yeah, because we have a couple of tours, and I hear that you have to have, or women have to have headdress and things like that.
I think it would, yes. And we've had that in Thailand and in Asia. So what I tend to always pack if I'm going there is just a little, what do you call them?
Like a pashmina.
Like a pashmina or scarf. So you
Okay.
can cover your shoulders and cover your head if you need to.
Okay.
And for men, obviously, it depends on shorts. Sometimes you need long trousers. Ladies, you can wear a dress, but it needs to be, covering your knees. So I think but every place is very different. So wherever you're going, just and if you need any help, or we can speak to our friends that live there. But the first thing that they said to us, please come and stay with us because we want to show you what Dubai's really like. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was, that's why we want to go back. Mm.
Let's talk about the future. Other than your group trip, I don't suspect there's any room left for that one, right? You're not looking for any more sign-ups.
Oh,
Well,
it goes on
it sails
Saturday.
on Saturday, so
Okay, never mind.
you have to get packing.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you have? What do you have booked?
We've got. I'll go first, and then when I forget everything, Carole will correct me. So we got the group cruise, which is going this Saturday, 17th of May, and then we've got in September. We're flying to America. We're flying to Seattle. We're doing a cruise to Alaska. And then when we get back
on Discovery
Princess, and then when we get back to Seattle, we're then flying to California, and we're doing a 2-week land tour of California
with friends.
with some friends. And then in December, we're doing a Christmas market river cruise
which is another group cruise. So there's about 40 of us going to Budapest.
So is that your group cruise or that's someone else's?
Yeah. It's ours. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We thought we wanted to do a river cruise. We wanted to do one at Christmas. We thought, oh my God, that would be great to do with a group of people. So we put it out there and we've had some people book, which is lovely. So, so we go to Budapest, Vienna and Bratislava.
What line is that on?
That's on Riviera. So it's going to be their brand new ship.
Okay.
So, and that'll be our first with Riviera on a river cruise. So looking forward to that.
And then end of December, we fly to Dubai. We spend New Year in Dubai, and then we fly to Sydney, and that's when we're doing a 42-day Australia, New Zealand, and
South Pacific with Holland America on Nordam.
Oh my goodness! Now, when is that?
January.
I think it's January the 2nd, is it?
We get on the ship on the 4th.
Oh, 4th.
January 26th.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we'll have you back after that cruise. That sounds amazing.
Yes.
42 days in South, and you're going to South. Yeah, pencil it in. I guess probably by the time you get back and get sort of back to maybe March.
Yeah, that's no problem.
We'll have you on because most guests, when I ask them what's on their bucket list, South Pacific is high on the list, and so you're actually checking that off.
Well, it's been a big trip that we wanted to do for a while, and and we wanted to do it on a line we know we're really comfortable with, which is why we picked Holland America, and we picked Nordland, which is a ship we know because I think that's really important. If you're spending that much time on a ship, it needs to be a ship that you're really comfortable with. So so that's really exciting. And then we come back from there in April. We've got another group cruise, which is just for our members only, our members and patrons. And we're going from Southampton on Queen Victoria, Cunard, and we're going to Portugal on a cruise. And then
And then
I'm 60 in next year, isn't it?
next July, yeah.
Next July. So I thought I want to do something very special for my 60th. And we were talking about all sorts. And now we've decided that we're gonna do a little small group cruise on a yacht, a Riviera yacht that's going to be cruising around Croatia. And we put that out for sale and it's sold out.
Wow.
So so how many? There's 19.
There's 19
There's
cabins,
19
yeah.
cabins. So that to celebrate my 60th birthday. And up to there, that's what we've got.
That's all we've got.
That's all we've
Nothing
got.
else.
Is that all?
That's it.
And you call yourself globe-trotting cruisers?
Like
Now every time I talk to you, seems like you've been on the show, more than 3 times.
Yeah.
Every time I talk to you, you're going on a bucket list cruise. What remains on your bucket list?
Hawaii. We've not done
Okay.
Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't believe I have something over Paul and Carole.
There you go. It's a bit closer to your neck of the woods, Hawaii, than us, isn't it, really? But
Yeah. Well, before we let you go, Paul and Carole, I have to ask you a few light, fun questions. And you probably think you've heard them all since you've been on the show several times. But I've changed things up a little bit for third-time guests. But let me preface by saying welcome to the Paul and Carole Love to Travel fans and friends who might be listening. Paul and Carole, so that your friends and fans and my listeners can get to know you better, let me ask a few questions I ask repeat guests. So tell your friends and fans and my listeners, how do you spend your me time?
I'm a big gardener. I love spending time in my garden. So that for me is a big thing. So I love gardening.
Carol makes me do all the digging parts of the garden.
That doesn't sound like scintillating me time activities, Paul.
No, my me time is I still, despite the fact I'm 60 now, I still do a bit of amateur car racing. So I do that throughout the summer, sort of once or maybe twice a month from sort of April time through to sort of October. So I still do that. I've actually just bought a new car out this season, which is going quite well. So that's my me time.
You still doing the RV stuff? I think you call it something different in UK, right? What do you call it?
We call it either a camper van or a motorhome.
Okay, but you still do that?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, what are you listening to right now in terms of music, podcasts, or audio books that you might want to turn listeners on to?
Listen, Teddy Swims is always on Alexa at the moment because I think he's got the most fantastic voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do love a bit of I've never done an audio book ever, but yes, I do like a bit of Teddy Swims.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. How about television and movies? Anything to turn us on to?
Television. We've got an interesting television story, which I can't remember the lady's name, but maybe Carol will. When we did our Holland America, no, when was it the one with Gary?
I don't know what you're trying to say.
The lady that said we love American police programs like Chicago PD, and we like Chicago Fire and that sort of program.
Yeah,
there was a singer on which cruise is it?
On Celebrity Eclipse.
There was a singer on Celebrity Eclipse on Gary Bembridge's group cruise, and she was telling us a bit about herself. and she'd appeared in a thing about Aretha
Oh, wait a
Franklin,
minute.
and she'd done
What was her name?
Isn't her name? Was her name Patrice something?
Patrice
Yeah.
Covington.
That's it, Patrice
Yes.
Covington. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we went into the elevator, as you guys call it, and it was packed, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're such an amazing singer. That was amazing." And I said, "Enough about the singing. You said you're going to be in Chicago PD. Tell me more." And she said, "I'm not allowed to tell you anything."
No.
But America is about 6 months in front of us on Chicago PD.
Yeah.
So we've literally only just got the new series last week.
Yes.
So
Don't say anything.
So no spoilers, but that is our go-to. It's on every Friday at I think 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And that's that we cannot wait for each Friday to come around.
And also, the other thing that we've really enjoyed was Reacher.
Yeah,
Wasn't it? Reacher.
which is from the Lee Child's books.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise was in the films that got quite badly criticised, but
The series was
the actual
amazing.
series is really.
But I gotta watch that series. I'll be honest. I'm one of the few people that liked Tom Cruise in the Reacher
I
movies.
read it too.
We like the films, but I've read about 15 or 20 of the books. And every book, it will have a page in the book where it says Jack Reacher fact file. And it'll be 6'5", 270 pounds. Tom Cruise is 5'7".
Right, yeah.
So as a film, as a standalone film, I thought the film was good. But I had to keep telling myself, he's a foot too short.
Right. I do know a lot of the readers of the books kind of rejected the movie. But I have heard a lot of good things about the series.
Very good. So you've seen Patricia Covington then?
Yeah. So Patrice Covington, you got to go back and listen to a podcast. I have a whole podcast on her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When you saw her, did she do a tribute to Whitney Houston?
She did.
She was fun.
That's what. Yeah. So I saw her. We saw her on, what was it? Celebrity Ascent.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking it was a celebrity. Maybe Beyond. No, I think it was Ascent. And, she was great.
Yeah.
I had never heard of her, but I knew I wanted to see the show because it was called I'm Your Whitney Tonight.
Yeah.
So I said, she's got to be good if she's going to sing Whitney Houston. And I was sitting in the audience and I started Googling her and I couldn't believe, there was so much information there. And, I saw where she was in the Aretha Franklin biopic and on the series that you all are mentioning. And, she's a sorority sister to my wife. So we had a good old time together, on the cruise.
Yeah.
And then I had her on the show. So when you get a chance, I don't have anything in front of me. I can't tell you what episode it was, but it wasn't that long ago. I think it was sort of, in fact, I know it was late 24 because that's when we went on Ascent. And she was a great guest, a great podcast guest, in addition to a great performer. So you'll like that.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, last question. So let's have a little fun, or it could be a little disaster.
Yeah.
In a recent episode, totally unplanned, a guest turned the table on me and asked me if he could ask me some questions, kind of rapid fire style. So I wasn't quite prepared, but I said, okay. That's why I say it could be a disaster, because I don't know what you're going to ask me.
Okay.
But it turned out to be fun, so I'm now incorporating it for 3-time guests like yourself. So rapid fire style, ask away. Questions you might have for me.
Have you got a party trick?
Have I got a party trick? No. I have party stories. But not party tricks. I could talk about, I have a pretty unique story about Muhammad Ali and having a long conversation with him. So it's not a party trick, but it definitely gets people interested. He actually, I had a time in my life when I was very ill, and my brother had a personal relationship with Muhammad Ali. And so when I had gotten out of the hospital, I was recovering, and I get a phone call, and my wife hands me the phone and says, "It's my brother on the phone." And when I took the phone, I hear this voice, "How you doing?" I mean, he was very, very soft spoken. It was Muhammad Ali, and it was very, very moving. It was hard to make out what he was saying, because he was definitely in decline, as you know, if you know anything about Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, the one thing that I remember that he said that I will hold on to for the rest of my life is, he said, "I'll be praying for you." So that's my story. Not a parlor trick, but a.
I know, but that's a special
That's
story.
good. That's better than a party trick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually wrote about it. I wrote a memoir about my my illness and my recovery. I was 29 years old when I had this life-threatening situation. So I wrote a whole memoir about survival and recovery and all of that. And I do have a chapter in there called Muhammad Ali.
Oh, fabulous. So if money and time is no object, what cruise would you book next?
If money were no object, you said?
Yeah, money and time, no object.
I would go back on Explorer Journeys. Have you been on Explorer Journeys?
No, but I've heard it looks fabulous.
Oh my goodness. That was our last cruise, and I did a little podcast on it. And one of the things I say in the podcast is, it is going to be so difficult to get on another cruise ship now. I mean, I am absolutely spoiled. And it's not, I've been on ships with a whole lot of great things happening. This is a small ship. You could just sit in a cabana and never see another person, and just look out at the ocean. So it seemed like it was a cruise line made for someone like me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds fab. Yeah.
But the other thing is the food. Oh my goodness, the food. Don't weigh yourself before and after.
No. So what was your first cruise?
My very first cruise ever was Sovereign of the Seas, Royal Caribbean Sovereign of the Seas. Yeah, it was to me, not to me, but it was the first mega ship.
Yes.
Because at the time it came out, it surpassed the biggest ship by a lot.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close. And it stayed the biggest ship in the world for something, I don't know, 4 years. But that we got hooked immediately.
Yeah.
Paul and Carole, it has been great chatting with you again. Thank you so much for coming on the Joy Cruising Podcast for the third time. And I am reasonably certain, let's say I'm hoping, you will be back as a 4-time guest. I'd love to hear about your 42 days?
42.
Yeah.
Which is how many stone I'm going to weigh when I get off there.
But no, thank you so much for having us, Paul. It's been a pleasure as always.
It has. It's been great.
Yep. So until I see you again, which will be sooner rather than later, all the best to you. And as I like to say, we'll see you on the ocean.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul.
Bye.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.